I'm Megan Horniman, the Chief Investment Officer for Verdence Capital Advisors, and we're coming to you today to give you a review of our themes from 2022, as well as introduce to you our themes for 2023. Now, 2022, when we came up with this title, it really was spot on. We titled those themes A Paradigm Shift, and we saw that across many different areas of the global economy, fixed income, interest rates, and even from a geopolitical stance, we were thrown into a war between Russia and Ukraine. Now, our first theme was that the U.S. economy was going to mature but not contract. That's sort of a check mark because we did get 2 negative quarters of GDP in the first half of 2022. It has not been officially classified as a recession, but we got a solid rebound in the second half of the year. When it came to the central banks, our theme was the global central bank divergence, and we saw that. Once the Fed pivoted in the first half of the year and started to aggressively raise interest rates, we saw many other central banks follow suit and also start to unwind some of that non-traditional monetary policy. When it came to equities, we said the key to value would be rotation. And we saw that most notably in the U.S., where you saw large cap value stocks outperform large cap growth stocks by the most since 2000. When you look at international equities, you saw developed international equities outperform the U.S. for the first time in 5 years. Our fifth theme was for fixed income, and that's where we discussed that a generation worth of investors would be in for a curveball. Unfortunately, we saw double-digit type losses in fixed income. That's definitely a curveball in my book. And then when it comes to our alternatives, acknowledging the new diversified portfolio. We saw that this year. The 60-40 portfolio delivered double-digit losses. It came from both the fixed income side of the market as well as the equity side of the market. But when you look at something like hedge funds, low volatility hedge funds in that alternative space, they outperformed the U.S. market, U.S. equity market by more than 10% for the year. So let's dive right into the performance across the different asset classes for 2022. The biggest themes last year were inflation reaching multi-decade highs. That impacted performance. The Fed doing a major pivot on interest rate policy and aggressively raising interest rates. And then obviously from an uncertain economic environment because of the tensions between Russia and Ukraine and what that was doing to the commodity market. So let's look a little bit deeper at the performance. And when you can see the U.S. equity market, all the major indices were lower for the year, but it was definitely that value over growth story. When you look at international equities, the only major area to end positive was Latin America, and that's because they are correlated to commodities. But it was the first time that you saw international developed markets outperform the S&P 500 in the past 5 years. Fixed income. Unfortunately, fixed income investors that are used to dealing with some sort of a hedge in their portfolio, they were forced to absorb double-digit type of equity-like losses in their portfolios because of that aggressive tightening cycle. Commodities, they were a bright spot for the year, and that's primarily because of the shortage and the uncertainty around the supply given the war between Russia and Ukraine. And then lastly, the dollar. The dollar continued to perform strong last year because of the fact that the Federal Reserve was the first, the quickest, and the most aggressive when it came to raising interest rates.